I never thought silence could be so loud, but that's what my apartment became after she left. A hollow, echoing quiet that buzzed louder than traffic. Her name was Clara Vale, and before she vanished, she'd been my tenant. A calm, well-spoken woman with soft eyes and perfect timing. When she smiled, you wanted to trust her. And I did. God, I did. My name is Ethan Cole, and I just moved out of the city to care for my mother. She was 84, gentle, forgetful, and growing smaller every season. Our new home was a tiny place at the edge of a lake in Harborview, where the nights smelled like rain and pine. She loved the quiet. I loved her enough to stay. To pay the bills, I rented my old apartment in the city. My last financial anchor. When Clara came to see it, she said all the right things. She was polite, professional, confident. She said she'd lived overseas for decades, owned her home, and was starting fresh. Her paperwork checked out. References looked solid. The math added up. I gave her the keys. I remember the sound they made in her hand. That light metallic jingle that now feels like a warning. The first months were easy. Rent arrived like clockwork. Her emails were warm, even kind. She thanked me for trusting her. She sent a photo of a cat she'd adopted, a plant she'd nursed back to life. A sunset through my old window. I started to think, maybe the world wasn't as cold as I'd believed. Then came the 7th month. No payment, no message. I waited 3 days, then a week, then 2. The worry started small. A tightness in my chest every time I checked my inbox. By week 3, that worry turned into dread. I called, straight to voicemail. I texted, no reply. Finally, I drove to the apartment myself. The hallway smelled strange, something sour beneath the faint scent of cleaning spray. Her door was unlocked. Inside was stillness. And then I saw it, a single napkin on the counter, a few shaky words written in smudged blue ink. Is greater than had to leave suddenly for family reasons. Be in touch soon. But she never was. The apartment looked like it had been abandoned in panic. Half-packed boxes, dirty dishes, a cracked microwave, my couch ruined by dark stains that told stories I didn't want to hear. It felt less like a home and more like evidence. I stood there for a long time, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound. That's when something in me hardened. Not rage. Something colder, more precise. The next weeks were a blur of paperwork and exhaustion. Court filings, eviction notices, judges who didn't care about the smell or the silence. She was gone across the ocean, according to the post office. Unreachable. Still, I fought. I won the judgment. Over $19,000 in unpaid rent and damages. But it meant nothing. A piece of paper with my name at the top, hers at the bottom, and a void in between where justice should have been. That night, sitting beside my mother's bed, I stared at the glow of her oxygen machine and made a quiet promise. If the law couldn't reach her, then the truth would. Clara Vale had a unique name, the kind that sticks, the kind you can't hide from. I bought her domain, claraveletruth.com. Typing it out, seeing it confirmed in bold black letters, it felt like taking back control of something she'd stolen. At first, it was just words. Plain, careful, factual. I described the damages, posted the court judgment, attached photos. Every line was truth. No embellishments, no slander. Just proof. The site was bare bones. A single page titled, What She Left Behind. It felt honest, simple, undeniable. Then I learned how the internet works. Search rankings, keywords, metadata. I spent nights reading about SEO, how algorithms reward persistence. Soon, her name began to rise in search results. One day, it hit the top. The first time I saw Clara Vale and my website together on Google, I felt something inside me shift. A strange, quiet thrill, not joy, but justice beginning to hum like static in the air. Then came the first email. A stranger wrote, "Is greater than, thank you for this. She applied for one of my rentals. You saved me." Then another, "Is greater than, she was a guest speaker at our firm last month. We checked your site. Everything matched. We rescinded the invite." Then another, "Is greater than, we almost hired her." Each one felt like a heartbeat. Each one felt like closure inching closer, but the satisfaction wasn't clean. It never is. Some nights, I'd sit in the blue glow of the monitor, watching the traffic rise, the visitor map lighting up like a constellation of quiet vengeance. And I'd think, am I protecting others or punishing her? That's when Nora noticed. She lived next door. Retired teacher, kind eyes, a mind sharper than mine. She helped care for my mother, brought soup when I skipped meals. One evening she said, "Ethan, you've stopped living for yourself." I told her, "I'm just making things right." She shook her head. "Sometimes, making things right means learning to let go." But I couldn't. Not yet. Then came the message that froze me. A voicemail. "Is greater than, this is legal counsel for Miss Vale. Take the site down immediately or face legal action." My stomach sank. Defamation. Jurisdiction. Fines. I listened to the message again. Then again. Like replaying a nightmare to find a clue. For the first time, I felt afraid of what I'd built. That night, Nora came over. She found me sitting in the dark, staring at the screen. She read every line on the site, every caption, every word. Then she said softly, "Ethan, you didn't lie. You didn't curse. You told the truth." She placed a hand on my shoulder. "Then don't let fear take it from you." And I didn't. But the truth comes with a cost. Hosting fees. Long nights. The quiet guilt that hums beneath the satisfaction. Still, I couldn't stop. Because every visit, every email, every saved landlord meant the truth mattered. And for the first time in months, I felt seen again. The site kept breathing. Every night I checked the analytics, the small blue dots scattered across a map like distant lanterns. Each one was a person learning who she really was. Each one made the sleepless nights feel worth something. Then one morning an alert appeared. A visit from an address I recognized. Her new employer. I froze. For a moment I saw her face again, the calm smile, the soft voice promising reliability. And then I pictured her opening her laptop, typing her own name, finding mine above it. I imagined the silence that followed. 2 days later, an email arrived. "Is greater than, why are you doing this?" No greeting, no apology. Just those 5 words. I read them again and again, because part of me didn't know anymore. I started to type a response, then deleted it. Started again, deleted again. Finally, I wrote, "Is greater than, because you made me invisible." And I pressed send. Weeks passed. Visitors kept coming. The map glowed brighter. But the glow began to feel different. Less like justice, more like radiation. It was changing me. I stopped going to the lake with my mother. Stopped reading before bed. Every thought circled back to the site. To her name? To that faint hum of revenge that never quieted. One night I dreamed of the apartment. It was spotless again. Sunlight poured across the floor, and Clara stood by the window, smiling, as if nothing had happened. When I woke, the sound of the oxygen machine filled the room, steady and patient. My mother's hand searched for mine in the dark. I held it. "Ethan, are you all right?" she murmured. I lied and said yes. Then life intruded again. Another voicemail. Same clipped voice as before. "Is greater than, last warning. Take the site down." I almost did. My finger hovered over the delete key. But then an email arrived from a name I didn't know. Is greater than I saw your page. She tried to rent from us. We checked and found forged references. You saved us. And just like that, the guilt receded. Truth mattered, even when it hurt. Still, Nora worried. You're losing yourself in this, she said one evening. Her voice trembled with more sorrow than anger. I told her I couldn't stop until it felt even. She sighed. Even is an illusion. You can't balance betrayal with obsession. I laughed quietly. Maybe not, but I can balance silence with truth. Months turned into a year. The site became its own strange world. Sometimes I'd receive short, strange notes from strangers. Is greater than, she tried to date my brother. She applied at my firm. We found the site before hiring her. I never replied. I just read them, let them settle, and went back to watching the map. Then one letter changed everything. A plain envelope, no return address. Inside, a single page. You don't know me. I'm Clara's sister. She's not the same anymore. She lost her job, her friends. I know she hurt you. But please, stop. She's breaking. I read it 3 times. My stomach turned cold. The letter smelled faintly of perfume and rain. For the first time, I saw her not as a shadow, but as a person whose choices were devouring her. And I realized something I hadn't before. The site wasn't just punishing her. It was keeping me chained, too. That night I sat by my mother's bed again. She was asleep, her breathing soft and shallow. The glow of the laptop painted the walls blue. I opened the site editor, hovered over delete. I thought of the stains on the couch, the cracked microwave, the months of fear and debt, the silence that had swallowed my life. Then I thought of the letter, of the word breaking. I couldn't press delete, but I couldn't keep everything either. So I rewrote it. I removed the photos, removed the harshest lines, left only the judgment, the plain facts of the court, the truth that anyone could verify. No commentary, no emotion, just history. The next day, I told Nora. She smiled a small, tired smile. Ethan, you finally found the line, she said. Maybe, I replied, or maybe the line found me. Weeks later, another envelope arrived. This one was pale yellow, tied with a thin blue ribbon. Inside was a letter from a man I'd never met. Is greater than I almost leased my property to her. Your sight made me look closer. You saved me from losing everything. Thank you. At the bottom he'd written, is greater than, truth doesn't need cruelty to stand. I read that line aloud. Then I folded the letter and kept it beside my mother's photo. Time began to soften the edges. The site still existed, but I stopped checking it. Some days I almost forgot it was mine. Some nights I caught myself humming again. My mother passed quietly the following spring. Her last words were simple. Promise me you'll rest, Ethan. I promised. After the funeral, I went back to the city for the first time in 2 years. The apartment stood empty, fresh paint hiding the ghosts. I stood in the doorway, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the same sound that had filled the silence the day she vanished. I whispered, it's over. And maybe it was. Months later, I received one last message. From Clara herself. Is greater than, I saw you change the site. I deserved it. I wanted you to know I paid the debt. Check your account. I did. The money was there. Every cent. No apology. No explanation. Just the payment. And somehow, that was enough. Now, years later, the domain still exists. I keep it up, plain and factual. Not as a weapon, but as a record. A reminder that truth doesn't vanish when someone runs. A reminder that sometimes revenge becomes something gentler. A mirror instead of a blade. I walk by the lake often now. The water glints silver in the evening light. Nora joins me sometimes, her laughter soft against the wind. She asks, "Do you ever regret it?" I think about the sleepless nights, the fear, the letters, the line I almost crossed. Then I shake my head. "No," I say quietly. "I just wish I'd learned sooner that justice and peace aren't the same thing." The story could have ended in bitterness, but it didn't. It ended in stillness. The kind you earn after the storm, when the truth finally stops shouting and starts to whisper instead. And that whisper says, "You did what you had to. You told the truth. Now rest."